Hey Snapchat, today is part 2 in my Snapstorm series on the future of online video. In part 1, I talked about the people who are competing for consumer eyeballs, the same way retailers compete for us to come into their stores. The product that people are selling you through these retailers, these online retailers, of course, is content, but you need to think of it like a CPG company. The platform companies always know that must-have exclusive content is what drives eyeballs. Of course, consumers will pay for multiple platforms if prices are cheap enough. I might have Netflix and Hulu, but I'm not going to have 5 subscription services. So ultimately, exclusive content will drive the battle for eyeballs. My wife worked for years at a very large media satellite company, and she told me that the entire calculation is how much to pay for sports rights. Think about it, as a consumer, if I have a choice between cable or satellite or DSL distribution, if I'm a huge football fan, I'm going to choose the one that has exclusive sports rights. That's why Sky has spent billions of dollars on football, soccer rights, and that's why DirecTV spent billions on NFL. When consumers choose which platforms to subscribe to, they're going to choose the content they're most passionate about watching. Spending $100 million for House of Cards simply made Netflix a must-have subscription for end consumers. And the incumbent providers of cable or of mobile telephony, they know this. They know they need exclusive content. That's why Watchable from Comcast, Go90 from Verizon, and the stuff that AT&T is working on needs to secure exclusive content. This is in addition to the $5 billion Netflix is spending in 2016, the $2 billion HBO is spending, the $1.5 billion that Hulu is spending. These numbers are only going to go up. So there's never been a better time to be an amazing content producer. And people who took for granted the quality of content like Facebook or Twitter through Vine suddenly realize how important it is for them to get high quality exclusive. Part of that is being driven by the success of Snapchat, which is pulling a whole bunch of people into the network and forcing the traditional socials to spend on exclusive content. So YouTube Red has moved to a subscription service and trying to battle for exclusive content. Facebook's now going to pay creators for Facebook Live. Snapchat is such on the ascendancy it doesn't yet need to pay, but it's getting people to commit exclusive content through their Discover platform. In the last few years, people have called online video companies MCNs, multi-channel networks. The reason MCN is because they aggregated multiple channels on YouTube. I always thought MCN was the absolute stupidest name. Honestly, I think the term MCN means nothing. I think about MPNs, multi-platform networks. Some of the best multi-platform networks today are MeToo, Vice, Awesomeness, Tastemade, BuzzFeed, you name it. And the best MPNs have 4 attributes: native content, multiple revenue streams, vertically focused, and tech-enabled. Native content, you can't create one type of content and expect it to perform well everywhere. Your content has to be purpose-filled for the different platforms that you distribute. Putting a YouTube video in Facebook will not perform as well as having a native Facebook, maybe even having subtitles. We know that to produce Snapchat content, it has to look and feel and work differently, be shorter form and more snap. Number 2, I can't emphasize enough, multiple revenue streams. You will not exist and do well in an ad-only world. So of course you can do ads as part of your business, but also music sold through iTunes, licensing deals for OTT, and products. At Maker Studios, which I backed, I was the first venture capital investor in Maker, we not only sold ads, but we sold music and we sold merch. The important thing is then you're not tied just to the ad market, which can both be affected by platforms, but also as seasonality. And while 2010 to 2015 was all about ad revenue on YouTube, the next game is OTT licensing. OTT licensing through the major platforms competing for exclusive content is where the money's at the next 3 years. But here's something interesting. Some of the best companies are making their money exclusively through products. Loot Crate, where Upfront Ventures is an investor, is essentially, my words, Comic-Con in a box. You also have the female version of this, which is FabFitFun or Ipsy. By serving video to large affinity groups on the web, they've been able to then attach a box or subscription business on it. These companies are doing hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. And finally, while the MCNs seem to be a land grab, serving all types of content to all types of people, I personally never believed in that. I think that MPNs are going to be vertically focused like Me Too serving Latinos. Think about the emergence of the cable industry, where you had the people who were doing lifestyle brands, women brands, music brands, sports brands. They were all vertically focused. That means you can develop content expertise, talent expertise, and advertisers can serve endemic audiences. And if you're selling products, obviously it's easier to sell them to a tight endemic audience. And finally, the best MPNs that emerge are going to be tech-enabled. This is what most media companies that only exist in Hollywood have never understood, that tech gives you nonlinear scale. You need tools to build direct audience and engagement and have direct relationships with your customers. You need production and formatting tools. You need the ability to do multi-platform distribution and be able to track the analytics and what's performing well in different platforms. At places like Tastemade, Me Too, BuzzFeed, we do tons of A/B testing on titles and thumbnails. We know not only what's performing in each different channel, but we know what's performing now, where to lean in and push more content. The currency of the tech-enabled MPN is email addresses, it's app installs, it's mobile phone numbers. And that's how, as a product company that sells through platforms, and the platforms would just as easily swap you out by having direct customer relationships, you're powerful. And in between content and consumers is a certain amount of tech plumbing. This is often provided by third-party software companies that are experts in linking up content to distribution. My analogy in the physical world is that while you have consumer products and retailers, you also have logistic companies and pallet companies. Some of the early companies to emerge are Epoxy, Tubular, Vemba, Paladin, and there are several others. Just this week, we announced our investment in Toronto-based Vemba. Vemba works directly with producers to help them with distribution and revenue, to help them monetize, and to give them analytics on performance. But they equally help publishers, giving them increased content, discovery, personalization, and the ability to drive higher CPMs and engagement. Vemba is working with world-class companies like Vice, like Condé Nast, to help them better monetize and distribute. Ultimately, MCNs are bullshit. YouTube is not your business, it's a channel. Neither is Facebook. These are distribution channels. You need to dominate a vertical and be excellent at how you distribute technically through different platforms. Your job as an MPN is to drive viewers where all the people are already watching shows, but the real value comes to you at the bottom end of this funnel. It's emails, app installs, it's cooking users, and driving people to your owned and operated website. So while you may have 5 million that watch you on Facebook or YouTube, the most valuable will be the 1 million that watch you on your owned and operated website. It's called O&O. Those are your most ardent fans. Those are the people who sign up for your newsletter. Those are the people who pay for subscription. Those are the people who buy product. And you can't simply be talent aggregators. Otherwise, you're an agency on agency margins. We're about 15%. It's okay to sign up some really big talent that aren't going to be high margin to you, but they need to be valuable to you in other ways by being a magnet and driving people to other formats you produce. To be successful, you need your own formats that are high margin. You can rep some other people's channels, but you need to get benefit out of them. Do not give up completely your ability to have owned and operated website or to have news lists that you send out on email. And ultimately, you can help your talent with licensing, brand integration, and merchandising. If you're simply a talent aggregator, you're an agency, you will be disintermediated. That's it for part 2. In part 3, I'm going to cover the 800-pound gorilla and tell you how I think all this competition is going to play out in the next 5 years.